was just
This
thinking
conference will now
also,
be recorded.
I was just
Go
thinking
ahead.
also that we've got a number of people on who did not see the finished site on the front side. So you might want to let them see that prior to go. I just happened to think of that.
Sure. So the way we're going to go through it is we're going to go page by page and just look at how things are set up on each page. So we'll get an idea of how the site actually looks.
Great.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. So as most of you are familiar with, as you already have a WordPress website, in order to access the admin, it's your domain, which right now it's the staging domain, dev.fwclakeland.com/wp-admin. And that will take us to our login screen, of course. And this is a administrator level login, so it'll give you access to everything on the site. Once you're logged in and you're in the dashboard or you're anywhere in the admin, you can easily flip back to the main site by clicking the site name up here on the right, top right, and that brings us back to the site. And we have a neat little shortcut to get to any of the pages to edit just by clicking on edit page. And you can do that from any page on the site as long as you're logged in, right? So if I were to click edit page on the home page, that's going to take me directly to the pages, the home page right here. So the other way to get there from the dashboard, which I'll start back at, is to just come down to pages, click on all pages, and we'll just select the home page. All right, and that again gives us the home page. So let's kind of go in depth about these sections and how they all work. You have several of them, and I'm just pulling them all up here by clicking the add section button. We've got a hero, a feature, halves, so on and so forth. And we're just going to kind of walk through each one of them a little bit. So I'm going to open up the home page in a separate tab so we can kind of jump back and forth and see what we're doing. And this first tab here, this first section here is the video features section. I'm going to click it one time to open it up. And we've got two tabs here, content and settings. So the content's going to be specific to the section that you're working on, right? But the settings, which I just clicked here, are going to be the same for every section. So every single section you're going to have on here is going to have the option for a background image, a background color with some pre-selected color options that basically are pulled from your design. Some options for spacing or padding above and below the section that just adds a bit of white space, and we've got some predetermined sizes here as well. Basically, a little bit more and a lot of spacing. Basically, is what those translate to. Padding bottom is the same, and then the vertical position is basically how the text is centered. So with this, the way this is set up here, the text is going to sit on the bottom and to the left inside the frame of that section. All right. So getting into the content of this, we have the inner headline, which is going to translate right over here to another offering. You have the body, which translates to, get my shortcuts correct here, which is right here. And then the more fun stuff, right? So the video. So what we're doing here is selecting from some already inserted videos. And as you can see that you can add a new video in the videos menu, which is this link right here. Okay, we're going to go there in just a second. On this video feature section, you also have the option to set it as a live video. And when it is a live video, that's how we get this extra bar at the bottom here that gives us the countdown and the date of the launch. So we can select what that time and date is going to be. And then we have an option for an inner subline, which is not being used on this particular section, but it is in use on an inside page. So I'll point that out to you. So let's take a brief second and hop over to this videos page. And we're just listing out here. We're listing out the ones that we have so far. I'm going to just select one. And it's pretty straightforward. Just give it a title, whatever you like it to be. you have the option between YouTube and Vimeo, and you just drop in that URL. So this URL is just the end of the string that shows up in the browser from YouTube. So you're gonna upload the video to YouTube first, let it process, add whatever, descriptions and whatnot that you want to it, and then when you copy that link, all you need is the end of that URL. Okay. And once you've added those videos in, and they all sit here, right? You can come back to your section on your edit page and select from any of the ones that are available. Okay. So before I move on, does that all make sense about the video feature section?
I'll start with my first question. So it makes sense, everything there. The only question I would have is in regards to the live video. You wouldn't have a URL for like a YouTube live video probably until it goes live. So how would that work?
Yeah. Sure. So the way that works is you can start a live video before the start time. You can set the time that it goes live within YouTube, and then once you do that, it'll still give you a URL which you can drop in here.
So you have to come over there right before the live event and manually put it in.
Right, or 30 minutes before, a day before. You can start a live video many hours beforehand and plug it in here. So if it makes more sense to do it the day before, you can do that if you want to.
I'm not following that really, because we do live videos every week, multiple times, and we pretty much schedule them. But I don't know that I get a URL ahead of time until YouTube actually pushes that live. But I'll have to look into that. I mean, I'm sure we'll figure it out. But
yeah, just let me know if you have any. Just let us know if you have any issues with that. I did do a check on it and looked to work fine. But if it turns out to be an issue, we can definitely address it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Next, we have the features section, which is just our second section right here. And as you can see, pretty much a lot of the fields are very similar. This also has an inner headline and a body, which translates to these two blocks of text right here. The button, let me open this up so you can kind of see how this works. If I click on the edit button, it gives us a little pop-up, and we can select from any of the pages or sermons that have already been loaded into the site. And if I click any one of them, it updates that URL for me. Or I can just drop in a custom URL, right, if I want to. And the link text is just the button text that shows up on top of that button, okay? The facilitators piece is a piece that's coming with an updated launch of your site. This is going to relate to those kind of headshots from the initial designs. So we'll go ahead and hide this for you so it's not confusing, but I just want to point that out that that's just coming in a future launch for you. All right. Next, we have the halves. And that is basically our blocks here, our left and right blocks. Okay.
Now, what happens to those halves in the, what happens to those halves when you go to the mobile? Does the text just overlay on the picture, or?
Get down to the mobile. Oh, we got a little quick glitch there. The way it'll work is the image will stretch all the way across. I see that there's a glitch here, but we'll get that fixed in the next, like right after the call. Not a big deal. But essentially, the image will stretch all the way across. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Apologize about that. So the way these sections work is all the way at the bottom where you get to add a new half. It drops in at the bottom, but we can also grab on our left side here and reorder, and reorder those halves. I don't know why that keeps happening. All right, to the way we see fit. And then on the right hand side, we can click to remove a row altogether, right? So these are, you can add on to them. They're reorderable, and pretty straightforward to use. And that's essentially what works for the home page. Okay, we'll go ahead and turn that off there. So next we have the Join Us page. And this is using the hero.
Can I ask a WordPress question? Because
Sure.
a couple of us, like myself and Jonathan, are definitely pretty well versed in WordPress. Brandon and Gordon, not as much. So this may be very new to them. But but I'm hoping you'll teach me something here as well. So just the way you're kind of workflowing this, which is great, it looks cool. My question is, like, when you're working on something and you want to see what you've just done, do you use the preview feature, or do you actually like to jump back up to the site? Or, how do you prefer? How would you tell us to workflow, I guess?
I would suggest duplicating the page and making those changes. What I can do is add a plugin that will let you duplicate the pages out pretty quickly and pretty easily. And that's just because the preview changes button doesn't yet work with the field boxes that we have here. And that is that's a WordPress issue. That's not a programming issue on our side. WordPress is aware of it, and they're accounting for that in their future updates. But until they do that, I would just suggest to we'll add a plugin. It'll give you the option to clone or duplicate the page. The button will show up over here, and it'll just give you that new page. And once you've got it to where you want it, you would publish that new page, unpublish the old one, or delete the old one, and just be sure to change the menu so that the menu shows that new page.
Okay, I think that might have answered my question, but it seems a little clunky. So and that might get confusing for some of us. I'm trying to figure out how, like, you're doing it right now, just as a workflow. Like, so you're making edits, and then if you want to go see those edits, you just go ahead and publish it, and you're looking at them.
That's correct. That's how we're doing it.
Okay.
Eric, when I'm in there working, if I'm doing something on our own sites or whatever, I always keep two windows open. One for the content management system, one that's the actual site page that I'm looking at. But because with this new version of WordPress not having the preview working properly, that's about the only way you can do it without duplicating. But I agree with you, to have to duplicate, especially if you're doing a number of pages and changing the menu each time. I mean, usually your changes, they're so quick once you get used to the sections that you can do it so fast that, to publish it and look at it and make a quick change is not a big deal.
Yeah, that makes sense then. That's what I was asking. So you keep a window open, publish it, go look at it, come back, make edits, publish it, go look at it. That would be that's a perfect workflow for right now.
Yeah, you just have to refresh your screen for the, on the live site each time that you make that. But that's all. But it's easy. And I think you'll find that to be a very easy way. Actually, honestly, I like it better than the preview, because I used to use preview on the old, but since we're not able to use that now with the new, I think I'll continue to do it that way.
Okay. Jonathan, I'm sure that makes sense to you. Gordon and Brandon, if you have questions on that, we can show it to you and it'll probably make more sense.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to me. I'm following along pretty well.
Cool.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks.
All right. So, yeah, no problem. Happy to help. All right. So, kind of moving along here, just to point out these sections here, which is the hero, and this one's very straightforward. It's only got an inner headline, the text there, right? And the halves we looked at, just take another look, because it is using this subline here, which is just the time frames, right? And those are the only 2 sections for this page, if I'm not mistaken. We do have the split content section. So kind of scroll down to that. And what we've got here is a text block that spans full width, a text block and a left side text box, as well as the right side. Okay. And this is kind of these are all sort of that WYSIWYG editor, that rich text box that you can do some formatting in. Add that D. And there's also an option to set the width of this. So by default, the left and right boxes are at 50, 50, 50, right? But you can adjust this a little bit if you like, so that the left side is a little bit smaller or the left side is a little bit bigger, right? So you can have some pretty good control over the way that works. All right. Let me just refresh it real quick because I don't want to save that column width change, but I do want to change that, put that D in there. Okay. All right. We will get to these bottom pieces here soon. Okay. Moving right along. The Get Involved also has the hero and the halves. So we've looked at those. So we won't look at those again. The online family page has, and this is getting into your sermons. So the online family header is using that video feature section that we saw on the home page. And then we have our different looks for displaying sermons. So this first one is basically a single or a featured sermon. It has options to watch the video directly here in the browser, as well as download the audio or the video clips. We'll click on those in just a second. I just want to show you all of these here. They all have the same option there, and these rotate on through. Okay. And then the past sermons, which also have those buttons as well. Okay. So I know you're noticing that we've got a head cutoff here. There is an option, which I'll show you in a second, that allows you to set a default image. The image that's in there is a square size, but the design called for a more of a landscape horizontal photo. So we'll see in a minute where you upload that image. It lets you know what the size is and what the ratio is, so you can put a more appropriate image in there. So if we were to click on watch video, that just pops the video right there in the browser. And if I hit play, let me just turn it up so you can hear it. Right? So if we click anywhere outside of that box, it goes away and the video stops playing. And that goes for any of these, right? The option to download audio or video is going to be a little different based on the browser that you're on. Chrome, what it does is it opens the clip in a new tab, and you have the option here to download. And videos do the same thing and also give you the option to download. If you are on a Microsoft Edge, for example, it would just go straight to download. So this is a browser specific thing, the way that's handled. Okay. So let's just look at the edit page for this and see how all of this stuff is working. I'm going to close up these tabs to start, just so we can have a clean starting point. And let's look at the first one, which is featuring a single sermon. All right. So the type is really what's going to determine the layout of the section. So we can select from a single sermon, or show several in a carousel, or show several in a tiled layout. And those are your 3 options that you have. Right? With the single setting, it allows you to select from one sermon, and these are all the sermons that are currently uploaded into the site. Those are here on the sermons tab. We'll go there in a second. The second box has the option set to show several sermons in a carousel layout. And when it's in a carousel, you have the option to select either the most recent ones, in which case we would just kind of put a number of the total of sermons to show, or we can randomly show any sermons that we want, or we can select from specific ones, in which case we are selecting from any of the ones that are up or that are uploaded. If you wanted to filter, we could filter by the category or by the series. And again, we'll look at those in a moment. And then the last section here, which is labeled past sermons, has them labeled in a tiled layout, and we're just showing the most recent 9 sermons. So anytime you upload a new one, that new one will get shown first. Okay. Any questions about this? Okay. We'll take that as a no. All right. So let's look at the sermons more in depth. I'm going to click on the sermons tab here, and here's what we have so far. I'm going to open up one that we have in here. So we've got our title at the top, a description which we highly recommend that you add in there, that you include, because it does get pushed over to iTunes from here. We have a general category of sermons, but you do have the option of creating different categories if you'd like, and you can do that by clicking on the plus icon here from that right side, and we can name it whatever we want. Right. And if I click on add, that will give us another option for a category in there. Then the series is a little bit separate from the category. From our understanding, that the way you wanted this, you wanted this to be a little bit separate. And it'll also help actually doing it this way in terms of searching and drilling down to finding sermons once we complete that category page for you. Then we have URL fields for the audio file and the video file, and an optional YouTube video. So if any of these are not in place, you definitely want to have the audio and the video file in place, because those pieces go again to YouTube. But having the YouTube, these URLs need to be in place to push to iTunes, not YouTube, to iTunes.
That's for the podcast, yeah. Right.
Right. These are the podcast stuff.
Yeah. So Jonathan, This will be your wheelhouse. If you have any questions, speak up in here. But this is like one-stop shopping for podcast and for posting on the web.
Yeah, no, everything looks great. My one question going back, you said past sermons is up to 9?
You can do it as many as you want.
Okay. So you can set it as many as you want, and they can search it.
Yeah, you'll get into that. There's search fields and stuff.
Right.
Well, 1 to 20.
1 to 20 is how many you can do. I mean, if you want to add more, just do a new section. Just add another section and add more sermons there. All right. So I would click on.
Yeah. Our goal was not to keep this as a massive archive. It was, you can go to YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Okay. Excellent.
Now, one question I did have, Brandon, was, so when they go to that video thumbnail and roll over it, it gives the option to watch. If you do that, it's actually playing it in the embedded YouTube player, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then if it's download audio or video, where is it pulling that download from? From the actual podcast?
It's
Amazon?
Pulling it from Amazon, right?
Okay, got it. That was a feature I didn't know we were actually going to use or keep. That's kind of how we do it now, but we were just looking to have them play. But we could talk about it. We might just leave that. That's fine. You have any thoughts on that, Jonathan?
A lot of times that was helpful because people can figure out how to set up an iTunes podcast. So a lot of people click right there and download it and save it to their computer.
Okay. In a
but
video or audio. Yeah.
maybe it's something we can get away with from.
No,
Yeah,
it's fine. We'll leave it
so
just like it is for now.
okay. Okay, cool.
Oh, which speaking
So I
of,
want to show you what.
sorry, is
Go
there a
right
link
ahead.
on there? Is there a link on there to subscribe to iTunes?
There's not a link to subscribe. The closest thing we have to, I believe, is on the worship page.
No,
Yeah, we
there's
have
supposed
the
to be a
feature
link at the
playlist and download.
bottom of the one sermon page. There's a link somewhere to subscribe to podcast. I remember it on the design.
All right, so we'll just go
Uh,
ahead and add that in it. And yeah, why don't I do that here with you guys on the call so you can see how this works. So at the bottom of the sermons, we're just going to come down to buttons. I'm going to add a new button section. And I believe I have the iTunes link. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. See how quickly I can do this. We have, yeah, that's it. So we'll drop in this URL. We'll say, let's put that actually up here. Add link. And just set the button to sit in the center. Take that. And we'll just come back to our online family page. And there's our button there. So if I click this may not be the exact correct link. This looks like this is going to, okay, this is going to that album. So you'll just want to update the URL there for that button, just like I did, and it'll
I have
open
a
up
question.
in the correct link. Go ahead.
So from my understanding that, can you mute?
Mute your computer audio, and you should be okay.
Okay, can you hear me?
That's good.
That's
Yep.
good. Yep. Okay. So is it going to say subscribe to iTunes?
It'll say
There,
whatever you
that
put.
red button right there.
So where I've added this button here,
Okay.
this link
So
text is what shows up the button text.
okay. All right. Because iTunes don't exist, I was just making sure that iTunes wasn't what it would say because they moved from iTunes. I was just making sure that that could be changed.
Gotcha. Yep. Here's where you change that. All right. Okay, moving right along here, we've got the worship page next. Hero header. Here's another video feature section, which we'll just check out real quick.
So yeah,
Now, this one's a little
can
different.
we go back to look at some of the pages, because I'm trying to wrap my head around where we're at actually, because
Sure.
like
Sure.
all right, so worship online family, can we go to there?
Sure.
And then you scroll down from there. So this is kind of like the sermon section on the online family.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so that button at the bottom, we would just change the text on it, and that would be the link to get us to subscribe to podcast. Yep.
I would change the button text and the link behind it
Okay.
as it just showed Brandon, because right now it's going to the wrong URL. So.
All right, that's right. I forgot we condensed these into one page. Basically, the online family and the sermon archive of sorts is all on one page now. Okay, perfect. Yep.
Right.
Good.
Yeah, it actually is a little bit cleaner this way too, I think. Okay. All right. So on the worship page, we have that hero, which we've taken a look at, and we have the video feature section next, which is set up a little bit different. The only main difference here is that it's not set as a live video, And with that being the case, what we get instead is a button to watch that YouTube video, right? And here's that.
So just for my team, like you guys, so that the idea behind that on the FWC worship page is that's where people would go, FWC worship, and be able to watch the worship from that Sunday. And we would just change that out every week. Like Jonathan, you and I talked about this, potentially just uploading like the music from that service portion or something different.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Very cool. All right, next we have a split content section, which we saw once, but the only difference here is that this section is making use of buttons, which are available on the left and right side. And that's basically how we're getting our two buttons right here. Otherwise, it's the same as what we saw with the Google map on the other page, on the previous page. Okay. Does this make sense? I just want to make sure, because I feel like it makes sense, but it could be a little confusing.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Okay, excellent. All right, and then let's get down to our last page here, our giving page. Let me close up some of these windows. We got a lot going on here. Okay, cool. Okay, again, we got that hero, which you've seen. Then we have our rich text editor, which is basically a text box. It's like the split content, except there's only one box, and that's what's showing up here right across the top. Then beneath that, we've got our callouts section. And so we've got a left and a right, headline, body, and an icon. And it does tell you the exact image size that you need to have for the icons. And that translates directly over to what's on the left and what's on the right. Okay. Beneath that, we've got another call out section with the other two items, and the main difference here being that under the settings, the background color is just set to blue. That's how we're getting a nice little change up here between the two sections. And then the last one is our highlight bar. It's a very simple section. It just has the headline and a text editor box. And this one is set to a light blue background color, which is how we're getting this layout here. Next, we have the donate snippets code, right? So the way we've done this is we've added a rich text editor section, and then once you have that in place, you want to switch from visual over to text mode. And this is where you would drop in, this is how you would drop in any HTML, so including code snippets, iframes like this, and WordPress takes care of the heavy lifting of translating that over. So that's how we're getting the donation piece into the site here. Okay.
That all looks great, Brandon. Can, right where you're at right there, my question is, can those sections also be dragged, the order of them? Like,
oh yeah, it's a great question. Yeah,
perfect.
they definitely can.
Great. That's beautiful.
Yeah, great question.
And is that snippet of code, I assume, how does that translate? Is it responsive in like mobile and stuff?
Yeah, so code snippets are they're a funny thing. We're really dependent on whatever that website is doing, because it's an iframe, all the styling and everything is coming from that, that link, that website. So in this case, we're good because this iframe is responsive. You may run across times where if you try to drop something in that it doesn't translate over responsibly well, and that's on that website, that's how they've built it out to be.
Yeah, I created that one, so I just wanted to make sure it actually worked to be responsive, from that site.
Gotcha.
So that's great. Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, so that's essentially how the page sections all work. I'm going to go ahead and move into another section, not another section, but another area of the site under options.
Brandon, I have one question for you.
Sure.
Because, the question is that will members be able to give directly from that snippet that was created for the given? Are they able to put in their donation, the amount of what they want to give, whether in tithes, offering, or are they able to do that directly onto the site?
They are, George, to an extent, but once they click that like go button, it's going to open it to secure games.
Okay, because my question to that was that if it was going to be done on here, then our site then need to be secured.
No, this is all through them. It shouldn't matter.
Okay, so once they hit submit, it takes them over to the Secure Give site.
Let me
Let me add something to that. Your site needs to be secure though, because Google's going to mark it not secure if you don't have an SSL on it. So we pretty much do that on every site these days because Google has made it that way.
Great. So we will include a SL certificate on the site.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
And then to address your other question there, so the way this iframe works is once you fill out the fields and click next, it does all happen right here in the window.
Mm-hmm.
So see how that's all happening right within your website.
So it definitely need to be secure, because if it's happening right in the website, then Eric, it's not taking the member, it's not taking us to another site.
But none of that information is on our website. It's feeding it directly to SecureGive, is my understanding. But yeah, whatever, you guys can speak to that. I don't.
Yeah, you're right, Eric, on that. It looks like it's on your site because we want it to look that way, of course. But every bit of the processing, holding of the card, any of that is done off site. We will not even program a site that keeps it on, that would have it on.
Right. Your iframe is pulling from that other secure site, just to directly answer. So, but what KB's saying still holds up. You definitely want to have an SSL certificate because Google will mark it as not secure. And it's just good practice, to be honest with you.
as well as it does add another layer of trust. For those savvy users, they will be looking at that URL to see if the SL, if the secure certificate is there before they proceed. Although it is processed from the third party, they are still going to look up to the URL before they put in their credit card credentials. So I just want to make sure that we are addressing any kind of questions that may come to us when in this section that is so sensitive.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to another piece here. Under options in general, I want to touch on, I'm going to skip a few things here. I'm going to go straight down to our podcast item first here. So this is going to relate back to the sermons, specifically how it translates over to the podcast. So this is the default information that gets sent over to iTunes. So, if ever you want to change that, what shows up there, here is where you would change that.
Yeah, and Jonathan, just real quick. So Jonathan, this is the area that I was telling you about that we have like easy access to if needed, where we had really no control of this before.
Yeah, perfect.
So this is where we can change the artwork. We could change how many we want on the feed, categories if need be, all that. This is the one that we could never get to. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we saw that it was hard coded into the site, the last one. So whenever you have text or options that you would like to have control over, I mean, it should just be within your grasp. That's just kind of the way it should be. So, all right. So we have a few other items on this page. So let's kind of look at some of them. So I'm going to start with the header. I'm going to come up here to the top and just run through these. So we have the option to enable or disable that search, and that's just going to show or hide our search bar right here. If I click that, that does give us an option to search up here. The banner message shows up right here. and that's what shows up across the very top. And then we have, if somebody closes the banner, we can set how long that banner hides before showing again, right? So if you want to show a message that doesn't need to show every single time the person comes to the site, we just set the number of days that it's going to show for, and that way it won't show up until that length of time has expired for them there.
That's a great feature that we can use for like all kinds of stuff. Like the text that's there now would just be an example of that, or like I can think of a lot of uses for that. Is there a way to completely turn that header off?
Sure. If you just delete the text here and update the setting, that bar will go away entirely.
That's great. Yeah. I can think of a lot of uses for that, guys. Like, for instance, hurricane and churches canceled, or all kinds of things.
Certainly. Okay. Moving along down here to the footer. We've got two different sections here. We've really got three if you count the mobile. But we have inside the connect section, which is with the blue background. I'm sorry, with the gray background here. That headline, which translates to right here. Right. Then the description, which is right beneath it. Right. And then what we're doing here for the button is we've set the ID of the gravity form or the contact form, which is going to be over here in the forms menu on the left. We'll go there in a second. So you drop in the ID and give the button some text, and that is what enables the form to be shown on the page. So with that, I can now click on the connect button, and our contact form shows up right here. Okay.
I love that. That's
so
sweet.
There's that. Cool. And lastly for this section, and this kind of covers our bottom bit here, we've got social media, and we've got some contact information. So here's our company name. Feel free to change this if this is not accurate. Phone numbers, address information. The tagline does control up here at the very top, the tagline right here. Okay. But the thing about this I want to really point out is the option for these short codes. So what this does is anywhere that you take, let's take the phone number for example, because that gets used a lot. Anytime that you want to place the phone number on multiple pages, in different places across the website, we just highly recommend plugging in that phone number once here, then using this code and putting that anywhere that you want the phone number to show up. That way, you only have to change the phone number in one place, right? So if for some reason you get a new number, then you just change it right here and it updates across the site. Just a little minor shortcut to make life a little easier. And then we have the last piece, which is the social media, which is under options social. And here are your social media links. So you can update those as you need, or you can delete them and it'll hide the icon from showing up. Okay. So with that, before we go into the forms, which is next, are there any questions? So far, so good. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question real quick.
Sure.
With like uploading photos and stuff, are there any specific dimensions or resolution or a minimum or maximum size of picture that we need to upload? And are we able to crop that a certain way within the site, or do we need to manually make that image to fit certain dimensions before we upload it?
So the system does account for certain areas. For example, the sermons. Well, can you actually mute your mic for a moment, only because I'm getting the echo? Sorry. So yeah, thanks. So the system does crop the photos based on where they are. There are different instructions based on wherever you get a chance to upload an image. If there is a constraint, there's usually a note right there in the section next to where you upload the image that tells you the recommended size is this, and it gives you the exact dimensions, right? I would recommend, if you want to be spot on with it, just crop it in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, and then upload it directly. That way you're going to get exactly what you want, because the crop, when WordPress does it, it's going to slim it down first to whatever is smaller, the width or the height, to fit in that required size, and then it's going to crop off whatever's outside of that. So that's why, for example, we're getting something like on the FWC worship page where this photo looks great, but it doesn't quite match up. So in this case, we want to,
So can
upload
you,
a little smoother.
Brandon, for the sake of like Gordon and even myself just relearning, so can you kind of show us the workflow of the FWC worship one would be a great example right here. So can you show us the workflow of like where in library we would upload a new photo for that, and then if you go to the actual page edit where it kind of calls out the dimensions for that?
Certainly. So I'm going to go to edit the page.
I think this will
I'm gonna
answer
come
what
down
you're looking for, Gordon. Sorry.
No problem. I'm going to go to, in the hero section, I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to our background image. And right now, this just tells us that we need a minimum image size. So I'll go ahead and make that update for you, so you have the exact dimensions to show there. Ideally, you probably want one that'll be a little bit taller so it doesn't get cropped off there. But like I said, I'll go ahead and just make a note of that for you. But you see how there is a note for the image size, and pretty much that's in place everywhere where where you have an option to upload an image. So let's just kind of get rid of that for a minute. I just hit the X icon over that image, and that got rid of it. And I'm going to click on the Add Image button. That's going to bring a pop-up up of the media library. And from here, you can either select files from your desktop, or you can come over to the second tab here, which is what's already uploaded in the library. And just so you know, if you upload an image, it will pop you over to the media library, and that first image will be highlighted, right? So you see here that some of the images like these, they're all grayed out. That's because they don't meet that minimum image size. So if you try to upload an image that is too small or doesn't fit the proportions just to some, significant degree, the system is not going to let you upload it. It's going to say, image must be at least certain size or whatever. Otherwise, it will highlight for you. Let me just select the image that we had before, which is this one. And so you select the one that you want, you come down to the bottom right here and you click on select, and that drops the image right in there for you, right? And you always want to be sure, of course, to update the page. So that's how you're going to do it in the, in the section itself. But let's say, for example, you want to have a little bit more control over the image. So you would come over to the media, and this is where everything that's been uploaded directly into the site lives. This is photos. If you wanted to do PDFs, Word documents, you can do all that stuff. You can upload videos here. We just, highly recommend you put them on Amazon just for the sake of serving them up quickly and not impacting the load time on your site, as well as eating up all the space on your server. So I would, can't recommend any videos or audio clips. Just use Amazon for that. But if you want to kind of isolate one and edit it a little bit, just click on it. It gives us this little pop-up. We'll click on Edit Image here right beneath the image. And we've got some options for cropping, for rotating, for flipping. We can scale the image down a little bit. If I wanted to crop it, I just start by clicking and dragging a bit, and I can set what I want, right? However I want to do that. And then I click crop again, and it will crop out that image for me. And all I would need to do at this point is just click save, and it will update that image everywhere across the site. Okay. Does that answer your question about images?
Yeah,
Brandon?
that pretty much sums it up. There's just no way to see, I guess, until after you crop it or update it, of where the photo's going to fit within that box until you update the page, right? Like
That's right.
it doesn't actually show where it's going to crop until you see it, and then you have to make those changes and keep adjusting until you line it up correctly.
So can I jump in?
Right. Go ahead.
Like there's no guides of showing where on the website it's going to crop it, so you just kind of have to see, oh, it cut the head off, so I have to scale it down.
No. Can I jump in here? You Gordon, so I can answer that.
Sure.
Okay, just mute for me. Thank you. All right, so once we have the size of where it's going to be the slider, the hero, and the size is given, you will know that now you can move your images within that size. So you won't have to guess if a head is going to be cut off, a foot is going to be cut off, or anything like that. Once the size is definitely determined, then in Photoshop, you can move it around to what you want. So all of the size, we're going to give you the size for everything that this is what it needs to be. So in Photoshop, this is where now you can manipulate and turn whatever you want to do, because you will now have a given size. And so this is what Brandon was saying, that once you crop and position the photos that you want from Photoshop, then you can just bring it into the gallery, and it's going to be the exact way you want it to be. So you don't have to guess anymore. Does that answer your question, Gordon?
Yeah, I think so. And just one more thing to that, will I have to make a new photo for the mobile size, or will it crop it the same way? Does that make sense? So like, is that photo going to be adjustable when you go down to a mobile or an iPad or whatever? Is that photo going to be cropped differently on the different screens, or will that adjust appropriately where it's positioned?
Both are going to happen, right? Because it's a slightly different proportion for the mobile images, just based on the design. Again, I'll just make a note here to make sure to add the number, the size for that, size for mobile needed. But again, as long as you upload it in within those minimum constraints, it will crop for you. Yeah, but that same image that goes from desktop is going to be, that same crop from desktop is going to, that same image, I should say, from desktop is going to be pulled over to mobile and then just cropped to the size for mobile. If you really want more control over that, like if having a specific crop for mobile is necessary, then that's something that we would have to just discuss and work through.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, like, if I wanted to upload one photo, if I'd have to upload a certain size and a certain crop for desktop, and then make different dimensions for the same photo for a mobile version, or if it would just kind of take care of it.
It would take care of it for you.
Yeah, so Gordon, I think what you're asking is kind of, you're thinking the way we've had to do it on the previous one. This is a little different in that we don't create multiple images for the different mediums. It's a responsive site. So, and Brandon, can you maybe just demonstrate that by like taking the home page and showing the mobile version and see how those pictures behave?
Sure, just a second. Okay. All right, so let's go to the home page. And let's just edit that real quick to look at this and use the video feature as an example. So really, the best way to show you what's happening is just kind of to show you responsive in real time. So the image itself is it's already that size, and the video feature really is set to a specific height, so it's not going to get shorter vertically. That's just to make sure that the video behind it doesn't get cut off. But I think a better example is probably going to be the
And Gordon, there's a
worship
great
page.
example there, in that, like, you know, the text is all responsive. We're not having to build the text over photos in Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's great. I guess I just had more of a question. If I have a photo that's more like the focal point is on the far right and the screen drags in on a mobile, is it going to crop the important part of the image off, or is it going to know where the focal point is of that image and put that in the center? Or is it just going to crop to whatever's in the center, you know?
It's going to crop towards the center, so that's something that you would probably want to do a little bit of trial and error on, just getting the image to be exactly right. If you can get it down, as long as you've got the image down to the minimum, down to the width that's required. If you set it to the width, then everything will fit, and the tops and the bottoms will be cut off, right? To a slight degree. So if you've got anything on the far sides of it, I would just suggest making sure that image, the width of it, matches the recommended image size.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I just wanted to know how this was going to work and respond to that, so I would know what to do. But yeah, that makes sense.
Brandon, how are you
Okay.
able to get to that view to see the responsive and to look at it like from the mobile, where it actually switched to mobile?
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is a little developer tool that we use. So I'll just right click on inspect, and this is in Chrome here, so that's how I'm doing this. So it just gives us the HTML and the CSS, and lets us kind of see what's going on underneath. If I click on this icon right here for mobile, that gives us that responsive look, right? And then from there, I can kind of see what's going on inside the window. You can always
Is that something we can do,
also,
like when we're changing stuff out and editing, so we can see how it behaves on the mobile?
Yeah,
Okay,
you can
cool.
definitely do that. Or you can just grab the
Yeah,
side
can't
of the
you just
screen
drag
and put it
it,
in.
Brandon, from the
Right.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
you
can
can't just
drag
grab it
the
from the
browser
side.
window smaller and it'll do the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah,
it.
same
Okay.
thing. Mhm.
And just for my team too, so you guys, you can see there when it kind of like transitions to mobile, like the menu at the top and the logo go away, or it gets smaller and it goes to the hamburger menu. So you can kind of see what it's doing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. Getting close to the end here. The forms. Now, normally we tend to just kind of gloss over the actual editor, but in your case, I know you guys want to have a lot more control over what's going on, so we'll dive into this a little bit. Really not hard at all, especially since you guys are used to using WordPress. The right-hand side has all of your fields as options, your basic input line, a paragraph, so on and so forth. And then we've got some more specific fields for name, date, time, so on and so forth. Your site is not making use of any post or pricing, so I just point that out to say don't worry about those two. Everything what you need is in the standard and the advanced fields. And clicking one, I'll just click one right here as an example, drops it down into the flow here. And from that point, we can click and reorder. All right. So I'm going to click on the X and get rid of that one that we just made and confirm that. So if we click on one and open it up, and we've got a few options, we've got 3 tabs here. Under the general tab, that's the label. That's what's going to show up by default above or next to the field, depending on how the settings are set. We can require the field if we want. I'll leave input mask alone right now because that's a bit of a more advanced thing, but you're free to try that out and see how that works. Duplicates, no duplicates will basically make it so that if there's already been an entry with this field already filled out, it won't allow that. So for example, if somebody fills out a contact form and, I'd say they fill in the name Brandon and this is checked, then nobody else can fill in with the name Brandon. So it's a very, kind of specific thing. It's more of an advanced feature, I would say. Under the appearance tab, we have the placeholder text. That's what shows up in the field itself and disappears once you start typing. The field label visibility is set to be hidden, and that's what's hiding the extra label. So when I show the label, it shows up top, so it's just hiding that. The rest of these I wouldn't worry about too much. The field size just determines the length of the field in terms of kind of a third, 2/3, or full width across the screen. And the more advanced features that we have here, the admin field label, this is what is going to show to you when the form is submitted, right? So it's going to say, if you wanted it to say, I don't know, contact name instead of just name, that's what shows when the entry gets delivered to you as an email. So, it's just another way of being more specific here. We can add a default value if we want. We can set the visibility of this to be hidden or kind of behind the scenes. The other little nifty thing is to enable the conditional logic. So what this would do is allow this field to show based on another field settings. So in this case, we could say, show this field if the email field is, not, and if we left this blank, we just say not blank. So what this would do is once somebody starts filling out the email field, this name field would start to show as well. So that, that can give you, you can have some ideas based on that if you want to build some more complex forms there. So that's how you build that form editor. Not too bad, pretty straightforward. Any questions about that before I go into the next part of this? Okay. So with every form, you've got two things to check out, the confirmations and the notifications. The confirmation is the message that shows to the user once they finish filling out the form. So once a person fills out this contact form, they're going to see, thanks for contacting us, we'll get in touch with you shortly. So if you want to edit that, you just want to click on edit here, and it'll show you the text box to change that out, right? Pretty straightforward there. The other piece is notifications. This determines who gets the email, right? So on the contact form, if the user is submitting a message, obviously that's something that you guys want to get. So we've set it up to enter a specific email address. We've got the email addresses that are entered. When you get that email, it's going to say from and the name of the person who sent the email, or the name of the person who filled in that name field back on the form. We can use any number of merge tags. And if you hover on it, it kind of gives you a little explanation of, or I guess it kind of went away there. But these merge tags are pulled from the form itself. So you can kind of pre-populate any fields with fields from the form itself. Okay. If you want to reply, it'll reply back to the person who sent the email. And the message, the subject of the email will say new submission from contact form, because that's the form title. And in that email notification, it'll just show everything that was entered into the form. Okay. So in essence, if you want to change who gets these emails, here's where you're going to go for that. Okay. To see the entries of what's been added in, we just come over to the entries tab, and this just keeps a running log of all the data that's been submitted through the forms, in addition to you actually getting an email when an entry goes through. Okay. Once you've added or created a new form, and you can just do that by clicking on the new form tab, you can add it anywhere in the website with a bit of short code. So let me kind of show you how that works. I'm going to just add a new page for the moment. and we'll use a text editor block. And with the text editor block, we've got a simple way of doing it. We can click on the Add Form button and select the form that we want to show and insert that form. And that creates this short code for us. But really, you could take this and put this anywhere across the site and then just change that ID number to match the ID of the form. And just to go back really quickly and show you where that ID is. So if we're seeing contact form here, the ID is right here. Okay. And we can, again, just replace that with whatever ID of the form that you want to show, and that'll work out nicely for you. Okay. So, any questions there? All right. All right. So with that essentially concludes walking through what we've got built so far for the site. As I said before we started, we do have the new to FWC page coming, as well as the sermons category page coming as well. And but we're going to create those logins for you. I am going to make that quick update, and as well as address that mobile issue with the halves, and the make sure all the images sizes are in there for you for your convenience. And then we'll get those admin logins created for you, and you'll be free to start playing around. Okay.
That's great. I think that answered everything for me, Brandon.
Okay. Very cool.
I have a question just regarding the launch itself. Have we received the, I don't think we have received the DNS or the domain login, if you want us to change the DNS on it for you when we actually launch?
So Eric sent that over a while ago. I do have that.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that. Thank you for bringing that up, because there is, and let me show you, since we're in here, let me just kind of show you exactly what's happening. Visuals are always great. The way that the DNS is set up, it's currently pointing to what looks like your Amazon web servers. So what we're actually going to need is log into where where you're controlling that, and then from there we'll just add an A record to point the domain over to the new hosting.
Yeah, I think I sent that over for the info on the podcast, but I can resend the Amazon login over again.
Right. Yeah, I thought you did, and Ed has that. He's out this week on vacation, so
okay.
I'll try and get that from him.
I'll send it over from there. I'll find it and send it over again.
Okay. Okay, great.
And Eric, your email is through third party, right?
Yes, correct. It's in the cloud.
Perfect.
Yep.
All the more reason to want to change the A record and not change the entire all the NS settings. So we don't want to mess up your email there.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, if there are no other questions, I think we're good to go here. I will be posting this video. It's going to show up here in one of the sections right here on one of the widgets here in the dashboard, so it'll be available to you, and you'll have it for your convenience. So.
Any questions, guys? Gordon, Brandon, Jonathan?
I'm good.
No,
You'll probably have some once you actually start editing. I mean, you may feel, certain areas are a little lost, but just let us know on that, and we'll see if we can walk you through.
Great. I think everything looks great so far. Once we get the logins, we'll dive in, and then whenever you have those other two pages ready, just let us know.
Brandon, when do you think you have their logins? Shortly? Because you said you had to make some. Okay, that's great.
Yep.
Well, everybody have a great morning. Go get some lunch now, and we'll have the logins to you, and let us know, okay?
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Talk later.
All right.
Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.